Hey everybody, I'm back with a new episode, which is going to be a second in a part of series of comic series in the mid-70s and the Bronze Age that were just a collective mess. I'm not dissing on any of the creators, it's just that back then so many comics, DC and Marvel, many of the books were bi-monthly and they would still be late. There was just confusion. Stan was off in California doing his lecture tours and trying to work on Hollywood, which only took a couple of decades. But the CGI didn't catch up with the Marvel comics until years later. So Roy was in charge for Roy Thomas, and then later on there was a go-round of so many editor-in-chiefs. It was absurd, like for a year or less. Okay, that's not important. This is. This actually is a really full collection. It has all the issues of her previous incarnation as the Cat, which I'll show you only lasted 4 issues or so. And here we go. Here we go, everybody. I'm just going to leap right into it. Now, what you're going to notice, just like with Cobra, there's a billion artists, billion inkers. Pencilers and inkers, writers. So it's just crazed. As an inker, I should correct myself. Sheesh. Okay, Marie Severin, inked by Wally Wood, which my understanding is he always liked to be called Wallace Wood, and so Marie Severin, major production artist, major colorist, cover designer for Marvel for like 3-4 years after Kirby left. And this is written by Linda Fight, who worked in production as well. And they decided to get a female writer, and she's actually very good. She got married to Herb Trimpe, and then they divorced. But, these things happen over a period of time. But anyway, great story. If you have any, this story's been collected in a lot of books that are female-centric. Like the Women of Marvel, and they update those kind of collections periodically, and this is always a standout. So you have 2 women. You have a woman drawing and a woman writing, and it's really a good, it's really a spectacular opening. Oop, I jumped ahead. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Second issue, she takes on the Owl, which is a great idea, the Owl and the Pussycat. This one is also written by Linda, and Maria is doing the pencils, and Jim Mooney, another classic artist from the 60s, DC, to inking John Romita Jr., John Romita Jr. Real classic inker, really nice stuff. And this is a good story too. And this happened around 1973, I think, and the feminist movement was starting to take off, and you saw a lot of women that were, had previously been excluded from certain jobs, were now seeing an improvement on the situation. It's not perfect; it's still not. But anyway, this was a big deal, getting, and also it says Patty Greer. That's actually Patty Greer. She was in production, just like the others. Linda's still on board. And somebody sent her a memo or something, and they forgot to put an extra T in there. So as a joke, she went with Patty for the rest of her life. And she eventually got married to Dave Cockrum. And so, if you're in comics, and back then, pretty much so many people, they used to have huge production department of that included actual writers and artists, not just production people. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But then the Man Bull. And now, here we go. Okay, we got another change. Jim Starlin and Alan Weiss sharing duties. And Frank McLaughlin inking it. Linda still drawing it. And the letterer is Denise Vladimir, something like that. So, they really went through effort to have, female creators on this book. And, excuse me a second. There's Man Bull. he's always a big pain in the ass, but, you know, it's a good story. But, I mean, you're already seeing these changes. And you know what's weird is Alan Weiss is a great artist, but I've noticed a lot of his stuff in the early 70s, he usually didn't do a whole book. He was kind of like friends with Starlin and other people, and he would do parts of a book. He did like a third of a Captain America book, I think. No, that's Gray Morrow. I'm sorry. But no, Alan Weiss did actually do some Cap later. Well, anyway, to promote the Cat's book, she got to appear in Spider-Man, which is excellent. I mean, that's by the usual team of, at the time, Gary Conway and Jim Mooney. I say regular team, but it's probably changed too. Because it's a Bronze Age, and you got a lot of guys just, you know, trying to see what's going on, trying to make something work. And I think maybe her book ended. Yeah, I think it only lasted a handful of issues. That's a shame, too, because I think it's quality work, you know. So here's where she becomes Tigra, and it's penciled by Don Perlin, and he and Tony Isabella co-created Tigra, to the best of my knowledge. And I'm not going to tell you the whole thing. You can always Wikipedia it or something. It goes back to her being a cat, or being the cat, and Hydra gets a hold of her somehow, and somehow they transform, these bad guys transform her into a cat through mystic means, and then Hydra it's like a third party system. It's a real mess. You know why? Because I'm not reading the whole thing yet, and I apologize. It's not a mess of a story. It's actually pretty good. It's just I just don't want to go all into it because there's a lot to cover. So please excuse my impetuousness. Oh. She got some black and white stuff in here too. Okay. Monsters Unleashed, which is great. It was just like the black and whites were like a repository for all kinds of characters that you could take more chances with. Chris Claremont, yet another writer. Tony DeZuniga, with plot by Tony Isabella. So now you have yet another team of, I'm not going to say mother like that again, I swear. Okay, now she's Tigra. Marvel Chillers. Her own spine-chilling, here's that last, pulse-pounding premiere issue. But, you know, that kind of stuff it caught me like it caught a lot of people. Now, this is penciled by another guy named Will Mignot, who later on went to co-create DN Agents with Mark Evanier. And then most of Will Mignot's career was in animation. And so you don't see a lot of comic work from him. And inked by Frank Chiaramonte, who I don't know if he lasted that long, because him and Sam Granger, because, you know, there's like a 1975 era, 74, 75, where you see that name and then it disappears. So maybe he went for greener pastures elsewhere. So Holocaust is our business. So okay, and I'm zipping this, but this is less than remarkable. Okay. 2 months later is the next issue, and I remember buying this just because Kraven the Hunter, and you know, you have, I think it's a Ron Wilson inked by, retouched up by Romita, but all I know is it looked very Romita, specifically Kraven. And here we go, Chris Claremont guest writer, Frank Robbins artist, Vince Coletta, and I remember I bought it, and back then I didn't appreciate. I sound like every other guy my age. I didn't appreciate Frank Robbins, but nonetheless, I would reread this issue. So, okay, issue 4, April. Issue 5, June. So, they can't even keep a steady team on the book on a bi-monthly fucking book. Now we're going back to Tony Isabella, Will Mignot, and Vinnie Clare. Pencil and inker. And then number 6, two months later, but it's penciled by a young John Byrne, inked by Frank Springer, which is a very odd combination. And Tony's still on board. He's I feel like he's the glue that keeps it together. Back then, Byrne's pencils, I've seen photo stats of them. This stuff was pretty much a trace job. It was extremely tight. So you don't see a lot of, I mean, maybe some of the stuff fades out, but it's still pretty much what you would expect. But it's so cool to see that this is very early John Byrne. I mean, he was doing just fill-ins on books that really didn't sell, and that's how everybody broke in back then, including myself. Is you buy a book that's low on the totem pole, so to speak, totem. Get it? Okay, there's the Super Scroll. Now, I bought this issue, of course, because Kirby Super Scroll, great stuff. Okay, writer Jim Shooter, the new guy comes along, and I don't think he was editor-in-chief yet, but because Archie Goodwin was the editor-in-chief. It just says editor, but I think it was an all-over thing, because it was just mass confusion. But, Jim gets it in door by writing a Tigra story. And George Tuska, inked by Sal Trapani, who did a lot of, he did periodic issues of the Hulk when Trimpe was on it, like around some of the Steve Englehart era Hulks. Now, here's the thing. I'll show this later. I mean, I'll have examples later, but that's not George Tuska at all. That's a total redraw, possibly by somebody like Byrne, because it sort of has that, clear opening. And sometimes you'll see it on Tuska's work because he really goes, he does real taut, everybody's crunched up constantly, and sometimes it doesn't serve the story 100%. That looks like a redraw, but it's a god-awful one. So, but I would notice this as a wee lad. Burn, wretched beast, Disco Inferno. Okay. Man, I said good or what? Okay. The series ends. The end? Sadly, yes, this is it, Pilgrims. Bud's being shelved for make way to latest inspirations for the House of Ideas. Too mind-boggling to wait in the wings. Another minute. Don't worry about Tigra, though. You can bet our captivating Catwoman will return. So, I always hated that. I wonder, they should have just said, read letters page, but I don't know if a book that sold that low got letters. I was a massive Marvel 2-in-1 fan with The Thing. I mean, he is possibly the greatest comic book character ever. And I'm not even counting the new guys like Superman and all that. He's the guy they just can't get right in the movies because he's so much a comic book character in the best possible way. Okay, now this isn't quite fair, but it's a whole different team because it's a whole different book. Bill Manilow, Sal Buscema, Don Heck, they were regulars who would jump in on various books like Marvel 2-in-1. So I'm jumping ahead. Now, a more mature John Byrne, inked by Dave Hunt. He is so underrated. I believe he started working with Frank Giacoia and Mike Esposito. The two of them were sort of a team on Spider-Man and other books. And Dave, I think, was an assistant. Started off lettering, and coloring. And he turned into a great inker on his own. So here's Byrne with... It always cracked me. I don't know why. It just seems odd. But you see the jazz that he's given Spider-Man. Spider-Man was kind of stodgy at this time. So new artists like him would come along, and Byrne was still relatively new, and just create a lot more pizzazz. But there's so much going on there. Love that hair. And you could see that the character is getting a little instead of one-dimensional, they're getting almost two-dimensional, maybe 1.5-dimensional, and it's a great story too. Now we jump way ahead. This strikes me as filler because Marvel Premiere was also becoming one of those books that we just got to get a book out, and I don't think they really planned for Tigra, just because the sales weren't quite there, like a lot of characters, like Skull the Slayer and a whole bunch of others, Guardians of the Galaxy. So you would see them show up unfinished issues. Marvel Premiere also had the last 3 issues that Don McGregor did with the Black Panther once the Jungle Action was canceled. So Premiere and Spotlight they did have occasional new stories, but a lot of times they would finish up, plot by John Warner and Ed Hannigan. Okay, so another two writers. Art by Mike Vosberg and Ernie Chan, script by Ed Hannigan, and Ed Hannigan was a he was like a quadruple threat. He could do covers, pencil, ink, all that stuff. So I don't know much about this story. It really doesn't grab me, but I think that's the cat race that she's got her. I'll explain it. The cat race had something to do with her transformative powers, and frankly, they're boring. And so now we're leaping way ahead. She was. I think this is after she joined the Avengers, just for like a few months. And Jim Shooter wrote her terribly. He wrote her like she was a lady of the night. He made her so, money crazy and just like kind of sleazy, and it was a real disservice. Then she was in the Avengers for like 4 issues, and then she quit, and everyone's like, oh, thanks. But at the time, I don't know, Shooter's got some kind of hang up. I don't like why introduce a character like that. I think he wanted to do the contrast between people born to be heroes and then someone like her being in the Avengers. But she became a coward with when the Molecule Man had supposedly killed off the rest. But it's like, no. She hung out with Spider-Man. She met other people. It's like he diminished her value, and really she was an asset at the time. But Shooter, I guess, just wanted to prove something. I don't know. But I thought that was a colossal waste of everybody's time that he did that. So, neat stuff. That's pretty cool. Now, here we go. So, and that's pretty much it for any solo Tigra stuff until Mike Diodato. Love that with the dropouts on the figure. I love that kind of stuff. Christina Z. I can't remember whatever happened to her. And Mike Diodato Jr., who has changed his style like many times. So, and it's pretty good. It's spectacular, huh? It's really my only hang up. This is so juvenile of me, is that you have old time inking that basically shows the depth of everything, depending on how good an inker you are. That is, like even there, that's Vinnie Coletta just kind of hatching it out, and but it's like it has a 3-dimensional feel. But this is where I feel like the line work was far less important and the color took over. But it's okay. I'm just saying it seems odd in this collection. So how funny is this? Original art done 4 on a page. It's like, why have original art shown if you're not gonna? It's like if you're gonna print the trading card size, what the fuck is the point? It is so stupid. And this is akin to an Epic collection. And I just hate that. It's like, okay, wow, that's really great. That's without the logos on that. It's really nice. And that's about it. But here we go. It was another, what do they call that stuff? Like passing the baton while the building's on fire sort of situation. And so Tigra really, it was wonky. Started off as a cat, then became Tigra, and nobody knew it was hot potato. And it took years for her to be treated better and with more respect. And like I said, that Avengers brief run was just awful. And then she did join the West Coast Avengers, and that I like that a lot because it also had some of my other favorite characters in there too. All right, well that's about it. Just showing you how nuts the Silver Age was, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you all later.